Alright, I'm just gonna say it. Custom paths are better than in-game paths, period. Hey everyone, it's Caito, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why custom paths are better than the in-game paths. So if you're interested in content like this and you want to see more in the future, I'd appreciate if you like and subscribe, but let's just get right into it. So I've been going back and forth on whether I prefer in-game paths or custom paths for a long time now. If you guys have watched my previous videos, you know that on my last island, my farm-themed island, I challenged myself to use the in-game paths throughout my entire island, and while I enjoyed it and I liked the finished result, it was a challenge, and I just feel like if something is so challenging to do, it's probably not the better option for me. So these are going to be my opinions on why I think custom pathing is better than the in-game pathing, and I'm going to start off with aesthetics. So in general, the in-game pathing can just be very bland. It's kind of boring. There aren't many options. I don't know why they limited it so much, and there has been no even discussion about adding more options for the in-game pathing. I also always get frustrated when I look at the brick version for pathing just because it doesn't match the resident services brick, and so that's just frustrating every time for me. But they're so limiting. The colors are just kind of lackluster, and then when you look at the custom paths, there's just so much more detail, and the designs are just much more aesthetically pleasing to look at. So number one, for aesthetics in general, I just feel like the custom paths are far better than the in-game paths. Now for number two, I'm going to go into the options that you have for custom pathing. Now, this is a little bit limiting just because if you don't have Nintendo Online, you don't necessarily have access to all of these different options, and you kind of have to create your own. But there are a lot more tutorials out there now for how to create your own pathing, so I would just keep that in mind as well. But if you don't know, I do have a website. It is my card, and it has so many different pathing options. Any different theme that you want to do, spring core, cottage core, meadow core, fairy core, there are so many options for pathing, and I have a separate section on my card specifically for paths, and I'm constantly adding to all of these different sections. So if you were looking for some more codes, definitely check it out. I always have it linked in my description, but just the options for paths, and people are constantly coming out with new stuff. It's just unmatched. The in-game pathing, you have 9 options, and that's it. So again, custom paths in terms of options far outweighs the options for the in-game pathing. Okay, next up I wanted to talk about uniqueness and having your own island style. So this kind of builds upon the last point that there are so many options, and with all of those options, you can mix and match so many different custom paths to create your own style for your island, your own aesthetic, which really helps to make it personal to you, as opposed to the in-game pathing, which if everyone was using that same path, everyone's islands would start to look the same or more similar. So I like that using the different custom paths really helps to set your island apart from everyone else's. The next thing that I want to talk about is complexity. And with this point, I kind of want to talk about 2 different things. So right now I have open the creator for the grass path that I'm currently using on my island. And you can just see how many different options this creator has given you to use, and these patterns get more and more complex as the game continues to grow. So this creator has tons of different options. Plus they also have a brown dirt option as well, with several different options there too. So just the design itself can be super complex, and you can make it more or less complex depending on how many codes you decide to download. But I also wanted to talk about the complexity of how you are laying your paths. So the thing that I like about the custom paths is that you're able to make them diagonal or more narrow or wider. There's just so much more customization that you can do with the custom paths. And again, you have the freedom to make it as complex or simple as you want it to be. I always try to round mine and make them a little more jagged and natural looking, but if you wanted it to be completely straight like the in-game paths, you totally have that option as well. But that is just another thing that I love about custom paths. Okay, so before I go into my last point, which is my favorite thing about custom paths, I did want to mention a couple of pros about the in-game paths, because I do want to be fair and just point out that there are some good things about using in-game pathing. So obviously, if you don't have Nintendo Online, it is an easy option for you to have some paths on your island. I do like, if I am playing with the sound on, the sound of walking on in-game pathing. I also like, occasionally, I like that it shows up on the map. That doesn't mean as much to me as it does for some people, but I know that people like for it to show up on their maps. So I would say that overall, that is probably a pro of the in-game paths. But to me, those are really the only things that are better in terms of in-game pathing versus custom pathing. You might have a different opinion, so I would love to know what you think about in-game paths down in the comments below. But let's get into the last point and my favorite thing about custom pathing. So this is mainly applicable if you've got one of these 9 tile versions of the path, but it could really work for any type of pathing if you were using a similar style pathing to replace what you had on your island. But that is just it. The absolute ease of replacing your path when you want to try something new, it just makes custom paths so much superior to the in-game paths, because let me tell you, it is so easy to do. I did this on stream last night. It completely changed the look of my island, and it took about 2 minutes to do. So I'm gonna go in here. I changed it back to the path that it used to be, just so you guys could see the difference and just the impact that it makes for me to change out this custom path to the new one that I'm going to be using on my island. So I'm going to go in here. All you have to do is connect to the design portal, and you're going to go in and type in the code of the new path that you want to use. Alright, so I've got the creator pulled up here, and now all you want to do is select the tile that matches the same one that you're going to be replacing it with. So I've got the top left corner here. I'm just going to simply overwrite it on my island, and this will change it out. Everywhere that that design was on my island, it's now going to be this new dirt path. So I'm going to go ahead and change all of these out, and then I will show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so I've got it all changed out, and you can see how just instantly this completely transformed my island to something different than what it was, and There are so many different versions of the path that you could change this out to whatever you wanted. And to go along with one of my previous videos that I posted last week talking about changing out trees on your island, you could easily just change out your trees in your pathing and your entire theme would immediately change. The entire vibe of your island would be something completely different and new, and I just absolutely love that. If I wanted to change out the in-game paths, I would have to go in and replace them tile by tile, and nobody's got time for that, okay? Nobody's got time to go and change that out. So those are the reasons why I think that custom paths are better than in-game paths. I would love to know your opinions down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate if you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!